الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My dear respected brothers and elders and everyone listening at home and watching at home, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So inshallah, the topic that we're going to discuss today is the Fiqh of Zakat. The Fiqh of Zakat. And as many of you are aware, the month of Ramadan is a month in which many of us, we disperse our zakah, we calculate our zakah, and then we give our zakah. Inshallah, before I carry on, I just wanted to ask everyone, whoever wants a handout of the notes that I'm going to be going through today, please put your hand up. If you're going to waste it, it's best if you don't take any notes, inshallah. If you raise your hands. So all the information we'll be going through today, inshallah, will be on the PowerPoint slides that are being handed out. So inshallah, you can refer back to them whenever you have a question about zakat.
Put them in the website or Facebook page.
Inshallah, we'll put it on the website as well. So zakat is a pillar of Islam, and it's just similar to salah. So our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that bunya al-Islamu ala khamsin shahadati an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammad Rasulullah wa iqami as-salah wa ita'i az-zakah wal hajji wa sawmi Ramadan. That Islam is based upon 5 pillars, and from amongst them is zakah. And this is why it's important to know about zakah, to learn about zakah, to have knowledge about zakah. Just like it's first to learn about salah, in a similar manner, it's also first to learn about zakah. So we can ensure that we are calculating it properly, giving it properly to the right recipients, and we're making sure that we're not making any mistakes. So inshallah, in the next probably half an hour to 40 minutes, inshallah, I'm not going to spend more time than that. We're going to go through, inshallah, what is zakah, upon whom zakah is compulsory, on what items is zakat compulsory, what can be deducted from zakah, when is zakat paid, and who are the recipients of zakat. So, I don't think, if you can change the PowerPoint, please. Okay, inshallah. So for the first question, what is zakat? Okay, so what is zakat? Lexically, or in the dictionary, the meaning of zakah is to purify and to increase. Is to purify and to increase. So, if we go off the lexical meaning, okay, we can understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Quran, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ. That if we give zakah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will purify our deeds, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase our wealth. Will purify our wealth, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also increase our wealth. It should never be the case that we think that we're giving something in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our wealth is going to decrease. Before we carry on with this topic, it's very important to understand one thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran that there isn't a creature in the world, but his sustenance is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What this means is the wealth that we have, this has been given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take care of us. Now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to give a little bit from the wealth that He has given us, it should be a very easy task. Just imagine it like this. Those of you think back when you never had a job, when you had no money. If someone came to you and you were 16 years old, 15 years old, 14 years old, and someone said to you that, look, I'm going to give you £1,000 a month. Okay? I'm going to give you this £1,000 and you've never seen money before. And someone said to you, I'll give you £1,000, but with the condition that you need to give £25 back to me every single month. You'll say it's a no-brainer. Like this money that is given to me, okay, I never had it before, and this person is being so merciful to me and coming to me and saying to me that he's going to give me £1,000 a month, and all he wants in return is £25. It's a no-brainer, why not? We'll snatch someone's hand off and take it off them. This is similar to the wealth that we have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the wealth, whether that be in cash, whether it be business, whether it be gold, whatever it may be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wanted, He didn't have to give us the wealth. Then we would have been a poor person. We would have been a recipient of zakat. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this wealth. And then remember, another thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in need of our wealth. That 2.5% that we return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't in need of the 2.5%. وَلَا يَوْدُ حِفْظُهُمَا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't in need. He's testing us to see, okay, I'm giving my servant. Let's see, okay, are they willing to give a little bit back? Let's see if they act upon my commands. Let's see if they take me as their Lord. And this is the test. When it comes to our human dealings and you honor someone or you give someone, you might be charitable towards someone. Sometimes it's with a condition that you want something back. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need anything. He's just testing us to see if we are able to do it or not. So the lexical meaning is to purify and to increase. And that means if we do this, and I'll go over a hadith as well about the reward, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purifies our wealth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also include barakah in our wealth as well. Barakah, blessings. And I think it's important to explain what barakah is. Sometimes we think, okay, from £1,000 we're giving £25, so then we'll have £975. So how is there barakah in this? I've got less than what I had before I gave the zakat. For other people, forget £1,000, they have £10,000, then they're giving £250. Okay, if someone has £100,000, they're giving £2,500. So it becomes higher and higher and higher. So you think, okay, I'm losing £2,500 from £100,000. How is there barakah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places barakah, although you don't see it in the digits. Okay, the things that you can do with the money, okay, will prove how much barakah it has. And if you don't get the reward in this world, we're definitely going to get the reward in the hereafter. But we will see it in this world. And what is an example of barakah? Example of barakah is you and your friend, you work in the same workplace. You're receiving the same amount of wages. Same amount of wages. You have the same expenses. The difference is your friend, sometimes he spends his extra money on haram things. It might be gambling, nauzubillah, it might be alcohol, it might be, whatever else. He spends it in the wrong things. And you spend it on the right things. What you will see is that the money that you have left, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places such barakah in that you're able to do things that your friend is not able to do. You have the same amount left. It might be, Mullah Shamsul Sahib gave an example, that a person, okay, who has barakah in his wealth has bought a car. A person who doesn't have barakah in his wealth has also bought a car. It might be the same car, same reg, same mileage, from the same place. But the person who has barakah, alhamdulillah, he has no problems with his car. The person who doesn't have barakah in his wealth, and it's not always the case, don't always think that someone's car, whoever it breaks down, that means they don't have no barakah and they've done something wrong. It's not like that. I'm just giving you an example. A person who doesn't have barakah, his car breaks down, he's having problems. They both had £100 left in their bank account at the end of the month. But you see, one is left with £25 because he had to spend £75 on his car, and the other one is left with £100. This is just a little example of barakah. And there's so many different examples you can think of when you spend your money properly. And even if you see that I'm giving this money in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm giving it as zakah, I'm giving it as sadaqah, I'm giving it as lillah, and then my money is going down and you're struggling as well. Okay, remember it's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you in the hereafter. And inshallah I'll go through the hadith as well. So in Islamic law, it's one of the pillars of Islam, like I've mentioned. What that means is, if we do not believe in zakah, if we say that we don't believe in zakah, it's just the same as someone saying, I don't believe in salah, then you are a non-Muslim. You aren't a believer. It's simple as that. If you say, I don't believe in zakah, and it's not part of Islam, you are not a Muslim. If you are someone who is careless, and just like a person is careless with their salah, and if they miss their salah, okay, then obviously there is a punishment for that. And number two, if you're so careless that you keep on missing it and you don't hold it to be important, then there is a chance that towards the end of your life you might lose your iman. Just like the same way a person, if they're neglectful of salah and they don't take it as to be that important, who knows, by the end of their life, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een, they used to always make the dua, that رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْوَهَّابُ. They used to make this dua. It's an amazing dua, and you think the Sahaba used to make this dua. That, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do not take away our iman before we pass away. رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً. That don't take away our iman before I pass away, before we pass away. And they were the strongest of people. They were the people who were guaranteed Jannah on earth, Ashara Mubashara, and so many other Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in. That don't take away our iman. So they're the people who had strong iman. What about us? Our iman cannot be compared to them. So we need to ensure that we are acting upon the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in Islamic law is one of the pillars of Islam. And to give a portion of your wealth, normally 2.5%, to a needy Muslim for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now these two slides, which I'm going to go through, but they're not going to be up on the screen, have not been included in your notes. But what is the reward for one who gives zakat? Listen to this hadith properly, inshallah, and you'll nearly understand everything. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من تصدق بعدل تمرة من كسب طيب ولا يقبل الله إلا الطيب وإن الله يتقبلها بيمينه ثم يربيها لصاحبه كما يربي أحدكم فلوه حتى تكون مثل الجبل. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu has narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that if one gives in charity, if one gives zakah, even the amount of a date, but the condition that it's from min kasbin tayyibin, that it's from honestly earned money. It's from honestly earned money. It's from halal money. If what you earn is from haram money, there is no zakah on you. Listen to this carefully. If you earn haram money unlawfully, okay, then there is no zakah on you. Okay, because it says in this hadith, and it's quite simple, we're going to go over it inshallah. وَلَا يَقْبَلُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا طَيْبًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't accept anything but what is pure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only accepts that income which is pure and halal and earned lawfully. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَتَقَبَّلُهَا بِيَمِينِهِ. Whoever gives in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever gives their zakah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts it with his right hand. ثُمَّ يُرَبِّيهَا لِصَاحِبِهِ كَمَا يُرَبِّي أَحَدُكُمْ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes that amount increase for that person. He takes care of it and he makes that amount increase for that person who gives in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like that person who takes care of a baby horse, okay, and makes it become so big, and in the hadith is mentioned for exaggeration, as big as a mountain. Imagine you had a baby horse, you took care of it, you nourished it, you fed it, okay, you did what you needed to do, and you made it into a big mountain. It's an example, a metaphor. Okay, you made it really big and healthy. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we give our zakah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does the same thing with our wealth, whether we see it or not. That's a reward, just one of the rewards. There's so many other rewards that have been mentioned in the Quran and have been mentioned in the hadith, but inshallah, you can look up into it and read the rewards, inshallah. Just one punishment that I'm going to mention. If we do not give our zakah, like I mentioned, if we don't believe in zakah, we're not Muslims. If we're careless, okay, we need to be very careful of our iman. Okay, if we do not give our zakah and we refrain from it, even if we die as Muslims, the punishment in the hereafter is this. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من آتاه الله مالا فلم يؤدي زكاته مثل له يوم القيامة شجاعا أقرأ. That on the day of judgment, a person okay, form of a poisonous bull-headed snake in the hereafter. So your zakah, our zakah will be given a form of a poisonous bull-headed snake. Lahu zabibatani, and he'll have 2 black spots over the eye. And then يطوقه يوم القيامة ثم يأخذ بلحزمتيه يعني شدقيه ثم يقول أنا مالك أنا كنزك. And then this snake, okay, will encircle the neck of a person who doesn't give zakah and bite his cheeks and say, I am your wealth, I am your treasure. On the day of judgment, Allah save us all. Everyone say Ameen. On the day of judgment, okay, this zakah that we are not giving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the poor and the needy, we're not acting upon the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will come in the form of a snake, okay, which will encircle our necks, bite our cheeks, and then say, this is the mal that you kept in your bank account, this is what you kept under your bed, this is what you didn't give when you were supposed to give, okay, and say, ana maluk, ana kanzul. And then the Prophet ﷺ recited a Quranic ayat from an ayah from the Quran that وَلَا يَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ يَبْخَلُونَ. So the punishment is severe. The punishment is severe. So as we've understood the reward, and we've also understood the punishment, so we understand how important it is for us to give our zakah. Okay. Now coming to the rules and regulations of zakah. Upon whom is zakah compulsory? So upon whom is zakah compulsory? You can go to the next slide. What I want everyone to do, try to concentrate on myself, inshallah. If you need to, just look at the screen, okay? But try to concentrate and look towards me. I just feel like when you're looking towards me, I feel like it's better for me. Okay, so, Jazakallah. But anyway, upon whom is zakah compulsory? So zakah is compulsory upon a Muslim. So zakah is not compulsory on a non-Muslim. Zakah is compulsory obviously on a male, and it says and female. Okay, I don't mean like male and female together, you know. We will have people with their flags outside saying, yes, Alhamdulillah, Jalali is supporting transgender, not one, na'uzu billah. Just on a side point, what we have to, we're living in a day and age now where it's very important to safeguard our children, okay? And this fitna that is going around, it's very important that we even go to our local schools where we send our children, we ask them about the RSC policies and, you know, what is the curriculum regarding, you know, teaching, you know, all these extra things that they're teaching, okay? It's your right to ask that and then to find out, and it's your right also to opt out as well, okay? So it's very important to find out what our children are being taught. But anyway, being male or female, being a sane person, so a crazy person isn't required to give zakah. A person who is baligh, a person who is mature, so a person who has reached the age of puberty. And so what that negates is a person who is a child, and if you're putting money into a child, you know, like a children's account, for example, and you're saving money for your child, if it's theirs fully and you're not just like putting in the account to, I don't know, evade tax or I don't know for what reason, apart from it being for the child, then this child is not required to give zakah on that amount. But it has to be for the child. It can't be that you're putting in the child's account but you're using it for yourself. Then it's actually yours. Yeah. Okay? So that's the same with your child benefit and everything else. If you're using it, then it's yours, so you have to include it in your zakah as well. So a person has to be baligh, a person has to be mature. And then the owner of nisab. So a person has to be the owner of the threshold of zakah. And now you might be asking, what is the threshold of zakah? So how much do I have to be owning to for it to be obligatory on me to give zakah, inshallah. In the next slide that will be mentioned, okay? So the nisab can be split up into 2, or you can say 3 things, okay? So if you only have gold, so if there's someone who only has gold, they go off the gold nisab, so the gold threshold. If someone only has silver, they go off the silver threshold. But majority of us sitting here, okay, we'll have both. We'll have a mixture of both, because you'll have gold and you'll have money as well. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the zakatable assets on the next slide, but we'll most likely have a mixture of both. If we have a mixture of both, we will go off the nisab, the threshold of silver. Why it's more beneficial for the poor people. If you look at the amount, and when I was making this slide, when I was looking through the slide a few days ago, it was on the 30th of March, so that's literally I think 2 days ago or 3 days ago, the nisab for gold was £4,485. That's quite high, okay, £4,485. So for example, if someone had just gold, they will have to get their gold measured, okay, and if it goes to 4,400, if they just had gold, I'm not saying if they had a mixture of money and everything else, just gold, they would have to reach the threshold of £4,485, and then only would the zakah become obligatory on them, meaning the zakah start date, okay, will start from the day where they hit the 4,485, and I'll explain that as we go on. If a person only has silver, he only has to have £373.54. Okay, £373.54. And if someone has both, so they have money, gold, and everything else, okay, so there'll be many of us here with just money. Okay, so our threshold would be the silver. Okay, why? Because it's more beneficial for the poor people. Because imagine the nisab was £4,485, it's quite a lot of money. There'll be less people giving zakah. Whereas if the threshold is 373, okay, there'll be more people giving zakah. So has everyone understood the threshold? Is that clear with everyone? Any questions that you have, keep your questions in your mind, inshallah, and you can ask at the end. Okay, inshallah. So the next slide, it just explains what I've just mentioned. If you've only got gold, you go off the gold nisab. If you've got silver, you only go off the silver nisab. And if you've got gold and silver, you go off the silver nisab. Okay, so majority of us here, I'll make it nice and clear, we're going to go off the silver nisab because we've got a mixture of both. Okay, because everyone has normally cash, okay, and then if you've got gold as well. If you get any other assets, okay, shares and everything else we'll be explaining, okay, then you'll include all of that, and then you'll go off the silver nisab. Anyway, what items is zakat compulsory upon? So what items is zakat compulsory upon? So that's question number 3. And we're only going to focus on the first 3 things, okay, gold and silver. Okay, gold and silver, like I've mentioned, cash, okay, it's quite obvious, like I've mentioned. Business assets and stock, this is quite important. I don't think many people really take their business into consideration when they're giving their zakah. It's very important, especially the business assets and stock. Inshallah, I'll come to it and I'll explain. Okay, and there's this agricultural products and animals and livestock. I'm not going to really delve into those 2 things because that's got to do more with people, back home, if they've got animals and if they've got crops and everything else. If anyone has that, then they can come and approach us, inshallah, and we can talk about it later on, but it's not something that we're going to focus on today. So anyway, when it comes to gold and silver, on the next slide, zakah is compulsory on all forms of gold and silver, regardless of its purpose. This is quite important. You might have gold, you might have silver, and you might think, but I wear it though, it's a necessity. No. When it comes to zakah, even if the gold and silver, I'm not saying anything else, I'm not talking about cars, I'm not talking about your house, I'm not talking about the table that you have at home or anything like that. When it comes to specifically gold and silver, regardless of its purpose, you have to pay zakah on it. Is this clear with everyone? Regardless of its purpose, you have to pay zakah on it. Is that clear? Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you're wearing it and you think, oh, but I wear it though, it's like my clothes, it's a necessity, I have to wear it. Like a lot of our mothers, they always keep their gold on. Okay, a lot of our sisters, many of them, they might have their gold on all the time, so they might say, well, it's part of my clothing. It doesn't matter. Regardless of its purpose, gold and silver, okay, it is compulsory upon us to give our zakah on the gold and silver. Okay, now what if you have an item, for example, which is made up of majority of gold, okay, so more than 50%, then the whole amount of that item, so it might be a ring which is 60%, 70%, 80% gold, and the rest of it is other materials, then you have to pay zakah on the full amount or the cost of that item. Okay, if for example it's less than 50%, okay, if it's less than 50%, then what you do is you work out the amount of gold in the item. And then you pay the 2.5% on the amount of gold in the item. So if you look on the next slide, this one here. So if someone had 9 carat gold ring, okay, so 24 carat is normally full gold. Yeah. So anything more than 12 carat, okay, you'll have to pay carat, you'll have to pay the full amount. So anything more than 12 carat gold, you'll have to pay the full amount. But anything less than 12 carat gold, you'll have to work out. So for example, in this example, the weight of a ring is 10 grams, for example. Okay, it's 9 carat. If it's 9 carat gold, then what you'll do is you'll work out the percentage of gold in the ring, which is 37.5%. Okay, if it's a 10 gram ring, then you work out 37.5% of the ring, which works out to be 3.75 grams. And then, for example, if the ring cost, if 1 gram cost £50, and then you pay 3.75 grams, okay, you'll times the 1 gram by 3.75, and it'll end up being £187.50. Okay, it'll end up being £187.50. Is that clear with everyone? So what we're doing here, and you might have to sit down and you might have to work it out as well. You have to work out that what item you have, what carat gold it is, okay, and then work out the percentage, and then on that percentage, you'll have to pay 2.5%. Is that clear with everyone? Again, if you have any questions, you can ask at the end. Okay, hopefully, inshallah, it's clear. So the rule is, if something has more than 50% gold in the item, you pay the full amount. So if a ring, for example, it has 70% gold in it, okay, it's made up of 70%, and the ring costs £2,000, for example, according to the weight, okay, it costs £2,000, you'll pay zakat on £2,000, the full £2,000. If it's less than 50%, then you work out the percentage of gold. So for example, £2,000 ring, but the percentage of gold in it is worth £800. Then what you'll do is you'll work out 2.5% of £800, and then you'll give the zakat on the 2.5% of £800, not of £2,000. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, inshallah. So we'll move on. How do you calculate gold price? Okay, I think many of you will be aware, those of you who are married, those of you who have mothers, those of you who have sisters who ask you, okay, they tell you to take the gold to the jeweler shop. Okay, and one thing that takes place, nearly every year, you take the gold every single year. A good piece of advice for the brothers and sisters as well listening at home is that just get the weight of the gold 1 year, keep the receipt, okay, and just find out how much the gold is costing. So how much a body costs, on that day, your zakat day. Then you don't need to take your gold every single year to get it weighed. And for the gold person or the person working in the shop to tell you how much it costs, you go through all that stress of taking the gold to the gold shop, okay, and then bringing it back and then putting it away, and there's too much stress when you can just work out the weight. The weight is never going to change. Once you've done it 1 year, that weight is never going to change. The amount it costs might change, so that's what we have to work out. You ring the gold shop and you say that, okay, how much is the body at this moment? At this present moment, I asked at the beginning of Ramadan, the 1st of Ramadan, the gold prices, they've gone really high. So one body at the moment, when I asked at the beginning of Ramadan, was like £520, £518 to £20. Okay, so what you do is you work out if you've got 20 bodies at home, for the sisters who are at home, if you've got 20 bodies at home, 520 times by 20. Okay, whatever that amount is, you pay 2.5% of that amount. Okay, so it's simple. So a good piece of advice, hopefully inshallah you'll understand, is just find out the weight never changes, okay, and then you need to find out the gold price though. That's by ringing the gold shop, okay, and even online now you have websites that tell you the gold prices as well, and then you give 2.5% on that amount. What's been mentioned here is that the gold should be valued at the selling price. This is quite important. We normally go off, the buying price, because when you ring the gold shop, they'll tell you how much a body costs. So that's actually the buying price. Okay, but you could give zakat on the selling price. It's first on you to give it on the selling price, which is normally a bit less. It's a bit less than the buying price. The zakat is compulsory on the selling price, not the buying price. But if you wanted to give it on the buying price, that's better for us. We're giving a little bit extra. Okay, inshallah. But if you were struggling for money, okay, it's only first on you to give it on the selling price. So the buying price might be £520, but the selling price might be £500 for one body, we're saying. The selling price might be £500. You give zakat on the £500 per body, not the £520. If you want to give it on the £520, giving more, there's no problem with that. Okay, inshallah. You can go onto the website, Live Scrap, a gold price online. Okay, so Boris and Tolas, I think all of you are aware of that, the different weights of, when it comes to weighing the gold, okay? The easiest way, go and take it to the gold shop, okay, and tell them to tell you in buris or in tolas, and then keep that weight, and then whenever it comes to your zakat day the next year, ring them, find out how much each buri cost or each tola costs. Okay, so cash. Okay, so cash. What things are included in our zakat in terms of cash? So, zakat is compulsory on all cash regardless of where it is kept. Sometimes we think that, okay, we only pay zakat on the amount in our bank. Or we only pay zakat on, for example, our earnings. So if I gift you £100, okay, that means the gift is not included in zakat. No. The following things are all included in zakat when it comes to cash. So our earnings, so whatever we earn, however we earn it, as long as it's not haram. Okay, the condition is as long as it's not haram. Okay, our earnings, our salary, anyone gives us a gift. So imagine one day before your zakat anniversary day, someone comes and gives you like £1,000. You have to pay zakat on the £1,000 because it's yours now. Okay, it's part of your cash. If you're receiving any benefits, okay, rentals and dividends. So, for example, if you've got a rental property, okay, and I might mention this later, if you've got a rental property, now you're not going to pay zakat on the cost of the rental property, so £80,000, £100,000, £150,000. You don't pay zakat on £150,000, you don't pay zakat on £80,000. Okay, the cost of the rental property. But you earn a certain amount every single month, £400, £500, £600. Okay, whatever is remaining, okay, because you might have some payments from that 400, 500, 600, whatever it is, okay, whatever is remaining from that amount on your zakah anniversary day, and I'm going to explain what the zakah anniversary day is, inshallah. Whatever you have, you put all the cash together. So from your rental income, from you had you had a business and you made some money, or you sold some items at home, okay, you've got money in the bank, you've got money under the bed, okay, all of these different types of money, you include it in your zakah. Is that clear with everyone? Clear? Okay, inshallah. So we'll move on. There's other things that you might be thinking that, maybe I can deduct this from zakat, okay, because, for example, you've got some savings and you're saving up for Hajj, like many of us might be saving up for Hajj, or we're saving up for our, a wedding at home. It might be, your son's wedding or your daughter's wedding. So you're saving up at home. It might even be construction work. You're doing some work at home. So you're saving up. You're going to spend £20,000 on an extension, £30,000. You've got that in your account. But you're thinking, look, it's definitely going to go there. Okay? Even your studies, you save some money for your studies. So you saved an X amount for studies, £5,000, £6,000, that amount of study. But it's still in your account and you haven't used it. You have to include it in your zakat. So even if you've saved £10,000 for Hajj, but you haven't paid the travel agent yet, okay, then you have to include this in your zakat. If you're intending to do an extension at home, but you haven't given that money physically to the builders, okay, you have to include it in your zakat. Even a wedding that's coming up, you're saving up for a wedding, but you haven't paid for anything yet. Okay, you have to include it in your zakah. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, inshallah. Money saved for children. So you've saved some money for children, but it's your money. Like I explained before, if it's your money and you say it's my money, like I'm in charge of it, okay, yeah, I'm going to spend it on my child, but I might even spend it elsewhere as well, then you have to include this in your zakah. So all types of savings you have to include in your zakah. Moving on, receivables. So things that you have to include as well. Okay, so receivables. So for example, there's strong receivables and there's weak receivables. We have to include the strong receivables, okay, but we don't have to include the weak receivables. What do we mean by strong receivables? So for example, if I give Brother Shahib here, I gave him £1,000 and I know he's going to return that £1,000 to me 100% this year. We've got this trust between ourselves, okay, and I've given him money and he's going to return it, and I've got like 95% surety that he's going to return the money to me. I have to include it in my zakat. I have to include it in my zakah. Even if he's not going to give it that year, if he's going to give it next year, or we've decided that he's going to give it in a certain year, I have to include it in my zakah because technically it's still my money. Okay? And I know for sure he's going to return that money back to me. Okay, as well, outstanding balance from the sale of commercial goods. So, for example, you've sold something, but the person hasn't paid you yet. Okay, so you've sold something, but the person hasn't paid you yet, but you know that you're going to receive it. You know, sometimes you buy things on credit, from a shop, or Arif Cash and Carry, you go there and you say, look, I'm paying next week. Okay, and he writes it down in the book. Arif Cash and Carry has to include the money that you owe him, because he knows you're going to give it. Okay, the things that are weak receivables, okay, are outstanding balance from sale of personal items, outstanding wages, fees, remuneration of services, unpaid rental, outstanding mahar, outstanding inheritance. All of these things are weak receivables, and I think I mentioned, that you don't have to pay zakat on them, you have to pay zakat on them. The only money that you don't pay zakat on is that money, okay, that there's very less chance of you receiving back. So I don't know, inshallah, you've never been in this situation where you know that the person's not going to pay you. You know that the person's not going to pay you. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never puts you in that situation, but it's a really bad situation where you've lent someone money, okay, and they've given you a date that they're going to return back that money, but it's been like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, okay, and now it's become such a debt that you know you're not going to receive, okay, then you can deduct that from your zakat. Okay, but if it's anything else that you know that you're going to return, you're going to get back, inshallah, even if it's after a little while, you have to include it into your zakat. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, inshallah. Okay, now moving on to business assets and stock. So there might be many of us here who have businesses and we have stocks, okay? So do we pay zakat on the business? Do we pay zakat on the stocks, okay? So one thing that is important that we have to understand, whatever you buy to sell, you have to pay zakat on it. Whatever you buy to sell, you have to pay zakat on it. Okay? If you buy something not to sell, but it's for your personal use, you don't have to pay zakat on it. And that's the same with business assets and stock as well. Whatever is used in the business, okay, as machinery and equipment and the tools, buildings, vehicles, the furniture, you might even have a business car, but it's not there to sell. Okay, you have the computer, you have the software, okay, you have the building, okay. All of these things are necessities for the business. You haven't bought them to sell, okay. But anything else that you've bought to sell, you have to include it in your zakat. So what that means is everyone who has a restaurant or a takeaway, if you've got ingredients or if you've got certain food, okay, in there, you've bought it to sell, yeah. I know you're going to make it warm and you're going to, marinate it and whatever else it may be, but you've bought it to sell. When it comes to your zakat, you have to include all of that. All the stock that you have to include it. A lot of people don't know this. Okay? So because this is your business, this is your income, you've bought it to sell. It's like anything else. Now, if, like I mentioned, if it's something that is a necessity for the business and you haven't bought it to sell, it's there to help you make money, then you haven't bought this thing to sell. It's helping you to make money. So for example, the doner machine or the pizza machine or whatever else it may be. Okay, inshallah, if a business has a business card, you don't have to pay zakat on the business card because it's a necessity. But if you've bought anything to sell, you have to pay zakat on it. Is that clear? Okay, inshallah. And the reason why we mentioned the intention changes is that you might have something, for example, that you've bought to sell, and all of a sudden you said, no, I don't want to sell this anymore. This has become part of my, it's for my personal use. Then you don't pay zakat on it. Vice versa. If you bought something for your personal use and all of a sudden you said, no, I'm going to sell this now. Okay? I'm going to start selling this. Then you have to include it in your zakat. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, inshallah. But the zakat is upon the sale. The zakat is upon the sale, but if for example, when it comes to your zakat anniversary date, put it all into the calculation. So for example, if you've got, I don't know, someone might have stock, they're selling books. Okay, and I've given an example on the a few slides down. But anyway, like I mentioned on the next slide, okay, there is no zakat on fixed assets and capital goods. So for example, machinery, equipment, tools, the building, vehicle, furniture, computer, and software. Now, how do you determine the value? Like I mentioned with the gold, what do we go off? Let's see if you were listening. What do we go off the gold when we calculate our zakat? Selling price, excellent. Okay, so we go off the selling price. When it comes to stock, the business stock, what do you go off? So do you go off the selling price? Do you go off the buying price? Okay, so it's the next slide. What do you go off? You don't go off the buying price and the cost price, because you might be buying from wholesale. Okay, you might have bought whatever you're selling 1 year ago, and let's just give a figure. It might have cost you £10 for that item, whatever it may be. Okay, but today, on the 2nd of April 2023, just like with gold, okay, it's shot up. Have you understood? So it doesn't cost £10 anymore. That thing costs £20 now. That item costs £20. When you're giving your zakah, you have to go off on the stock's current market value. You go off the stock's current market value, not when you bought it and not the buying price. Okay, this is very important for business people. Okay, inshallah, is that clear? Okay, moving on. Those people who have properties, I think I've gone over this as well. If you have a house to live in, you don't pay zakah on it, because why? This is your necessity. If you've bought a house specifically to sell, you know how some people, they buy houses and then they do the work inside and then they sell. So their intention is to buy and then to make a profit and to sell. So this is their business asset. What is it? Their business asset. They have to pay zakah on the full amount. They have to pay zakah on the full amount. So if 60,000, 100,000, whatever it may be, okay, they have to pay on the full amount if they've got the intention of selling. If they've bought a property, okay, and they're going to, it's the next slide, if they're going to rent the property, okay, then they only pay zakah on the rental income. And again, you have to check what you have on your zakah anniversary day. I will explain what the zakah anniversary day is. Is that okay with everyone? So have we differentiated the three? One is that the house that you live in, you don't pay zakah on that, it's a necessity of yours. Number two, you've bought to sell. Okay, so if you've bought to sell, then you pay on the full amount. If you've bought a house to put it on rent, you pay on the rental income. And again, I'll explain when it comes to the example, inshallah. When it comes to shares, okay, those of you who are interested in shares and you've bought some shares, okay, you have to pay zakah on your shares as well. So for example, you've bought a share in, you've bought something, okay? Now your intention is to sell the whole thing for a profit. So just like we mentioned before, like a house, okay, you'll have to pay zakah on the full amount. Okay, you'll have to pay zakah on the full amount. If you bought a short share in something where you're going to earn dividends at the end of the year, okay, and then again, you will have to pay zakah on the stock. So it's just like a business as well. So the stock the share that you've bought, for example, let's say, I don't know, if you've bought a share in, Tesla or even Manchester United, for example, it's on sale at the moment, yeah? So you bought a sale and the price is looking down. Okay, Liverpool then. Okay, if you buy Liverpool, for example. Okay, so what do you pay zakah on? Okay, so you'll pay zakah, if you've bought it to sell the full amount, then you'll pay the zakah on the full amount that you've spent. So if your share costs, for example, £2,000, you'll pay zakah on the full £2,000. If you bought it for dividends, so for like, profit at the end of the year. So when they make a profit, Liverpool Football Club have made a profit, okay? And then they'll give you a certain percentage. They might even give you £100 at the end of the year for investing £200. And remember, you're only allowed to buy shares in things that are halal. And I think it's very important to go to your local scholars, okay, and ask them that, am I allowed to buy a share in this? Because you're only allowed to buy shares in things that are halal, okay? So you'll pay zakah on the zakatable assets. Okay, so there might be things within that thing that you've bought a share in that are non-zakatables. And we're going to mention this on the next slide. So if we go on the next slide, inshallah, or before that, sorry, we've got an example. So, for example, if you've bought a share in a book company, okay, you've bought a share in a book company. That book company is worth £10 million. Okay, if the book company is worth £10 million. It's the next two slides, please. If it's worth £10 million, okay, But the zakatable assets, meaning the books itself. So in a book company, what would you have? You might even have a bookshop. Do you think the company has bought the shop to sell? Has the book company bought the shop to sell? No. Okay? The machinery used to bind the books. Do you think they've bought the machinery to sell? No. But the books themselves, when they make them, they've got them to sell. Okay? They've made them to sell. So imagine from the 10 million pound that this company is worth, it might be the warehouse, it might be the machinery, it might be everything else. Okay? Only 2.5 million pound from the 10 million is the cost of the books. Okay? And then you have bought a share, okay, in this book company. So if only 2.5 million pound, which is only 25% of the company, is made up of zakatable assets, you only pay zakah on the 25% of the company's worth. Has everyone understood this? So what this means is, I'll give you an example. Okay, I know there's an example up there, but I'll give you an easy example. An easy example is, if you've bought a share of, I don't know, you've paid £1,000 to buy a share in a book company, £1,000. Okay, so you've paid £1,000 to buy a share in the book company. Now, 75% of this company, okay, it's valued at so high because of the machinery and the shops and everything else. They're not zakatable assets, only 25%. So from the £1,000, let's ask the question, how much of the amount of the £1,000 would you be paying zakah on? Anyone, let's see. 20? No, that's, you're trying to work out the actual percentage, but no. So I'm not saying work out the percentage yet. I'm saying which amount would we work out the 2.5% of the £1,000? 250, excellent. Why? Because 250 is 25% of the £1,000. Then we'll work out 2.5% of the 250. Then we'll work out 2.5% of the 250. Remember, there's no zakah on the 75% of the £1,000 that we've given. There's only zakah on the 25%. But from the 25%, we work out another 2.5%. We don't pay 25%, because if you're giving £250, okay, that's well above the amount. Has everyone understood this? Is this clear? Even if you haven't, if it's not relevant to you, don't worry about it. Okay? Inshallah. Moving on. Pension schemes. Okay, a lot of you who are working, you'll come under the defined contribution schemes, okay, where you're giving a little bit from your salary, and then your employers are also giving a certain percentage as well. You'll have to look in what things they're investing in. Another important point here is that you have to make sure that the company that you work for, they're investing in halal things. Okay? Maybe ask the question, maybe you can move your pension providers as well. Okay, they are Sharia compliant funds as well, so you can move your pension funds there. But majority of us will come under the defined contribution scheme. Okay, we have to work out how much we have in our pension scheme, and we have to pay 40% of the amount, because again, okay, I'm just giving a figure. There's different figures. You can look into it. We don't have the time to go over every single one, and there's a lot of people here who it's not relevant to, but it's on the slides, inshallah. If you've got any questions about shares, inshallah, you can come and ask. So this first one, you have to find out how much it's worth, and then, so for example, if your pension contribution is gone to, I don't know, let's say £1,000, okay, you will pay 40%. Okay, you'll pay zakah on 40%. So if it's £1,000, you'll pay zakah on £400, 2.5% of £400. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, there's a different pension scheme. All right, these are the different percentages, or you can look into it, inshallah. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you need to find out where your employers are putting putting your pension. You have to find out from their books, okay, that how many things are zakatable assets and how many things aren't. Okay, but Mufti Zubair of Al-Qalam Sharia panel, he has said if you go off the proxy 40%, then inshallah we should be safe, inshallah. Unless you find out that it's made up of, for example, bonds and fixed income. Okay, there might be interest in that, you have to take the interest away and then give on the rest. Okay, inshallah. It might be a bit technical for some of you, but inshallah it's something to look into. But Mufti Zubair has said if you don't know, you pay on 40% of the amount that's in your pension fund. Okay, inshallah. So I gave you the example. £1,000, for example, you might have £10,000 in there. You pay 40%, it's £4,000. 2.5% of £4,000, and you include it in your zakah. You might be asking the question now, but we're not going to receive this until we're I don't know, 60 years old or 55, 60, 65 years old until we're pensioners. Okay? It doesn't matter. This money it's almost like you've bought a share. Okay? It's being used by a company, okay, a pension company, just like an agent would use your money and make money for you. Okay? So it's in the same way. Okay, inshallah. Moving on. What can be deducted from a zakat? Okay, so you've put all your money together, okay, all the cash that you have, all the gold that you have, and everything else, okay, all the shares, all your business, assets that are zakatable, you put them all together, and now you've come up with an amount. It might be £2,000. Okay, what things can you deduct from there? Can you deduct anything? Okay, so any personal loans. So personal loans, what it would mean here is the example that I gave with the Shahib. I owe him. Okay, so if I owe him and I've got £2,000 worth of zakat, but I owe him £1,000, I can take £1,000 away from my zakat. Okay, I can take 1,000 away from my zakat calculation and then pay 2.5% of that amount. Okay, is that clear with everyone? Okay, unpaid bills. So for example, we need to understand this properly. Okay, in the time we're living in, a lot of people might be in debt with their bills. But if you've used the energy and they've given you the bill, then you owe that. Okay, so you can deduct that amount. So for example, if a bill has come of £500 from Eon or from British Gas, and they've given you the bill, okay, it's your zakat day has come as well, but you owe £500 here, you can take the £500 away from your zakat because you owe your bill. Have you understood? But if the bill is in the future, for example, you haven't used the energy and the bill hasn't come yet, you can't say, oh, okay, this next year bill's £3,000, I'm taking £3,000 away from my zakat. You can't do that. Why? Because the debt is not upon you yet. Is that clear with everyone? Okay. Goods purchased on credit. You've bought anything on credit, like I gave you the Arif example. Okay, you've bought something on credit, you still owe the person, you can take that away from your zakat. Why? Because that money is not lawfully yours, it's supposed to be someone else's. You can deduct it from your zakat. It's just the same as a personal loan. Outstanding salaries. So for example, you're owed something by your employer. Okay, you're owed something by your employer, or the other way around. If you're a person who owes someone else, it works on this, that if you owe your employees, then obviously that money that you have, you owe them. So you need to give them their money first before you work out your zakat. Is that clear with everyone? Okay. Payable service fees. If you've got any services that you need to pay, you can deduct that from your zakat. Unpaid dowry as well. So for example, you are supposed to give your wife £1,000 in dowry, okay, but you still have that £1,000 on you, but you're supposed to give it to her, it's hers, okay? You can deduct it from your zakat because it's hers, but then she has to pay zakat on it. Your wife will have to pay zakah on it. And on this note, if I don't get time to mention it later, it's very important to understand that zakah is a responsibility on every individual. Zakah is a responsibility on every individual. So, a lady's zakah or a wife's zakah is her responsibility. The husband's zakah is his responsibility. Now, yes, if the wife tells you, look, I don't have money, or can you pay my zakah? And you agree to pay her zakah, it's fine. If you disagree and you say, no, I'm not going to pay it, you've got enough money yourself, okay? Then it's her responsibility to pay her zakah. You will not be answerable for your wife's zakah. Has everyone understood this? Okay? But if you're kind enough to pay her zakah, then it's good. But I think there should be some pressure put upon your wives just because of this reason, so they understand the idea of giving, that it's a commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm doing something, I'm going to get a reward, look in the hereafter, this is what I'm going to get. Okay, if you do it for that reason, I think the wife should take the responsibility of giving the zakah. And nowadays it's vice versa, the wives are paying for the husbands. But anyway, moving on, when it comes to mortgages, obviously mortgages, as you know, if it's with interest, is haram, okay, but unfortunately, okay, a lot of society are involved with mortgages. Can you deduct mortgages from your zakah? Because obviously it's an amount that you owe. Okay, you can deduct only 1 year's worth, but it has to be only the capital amount. You cannot deduct the interest amount. So, for example, in a month, if you're paying, I don't know, Altogether, your mortgage is about £600, for example, £700. But £200 is interest and £500 goes off the capital. You're allowed to deduct the £500 every month for 1 year. Okay, you're allowed to deduct the £500 to 1 year. But what I would advise, this is the rule, okay, and I'm just giving my own idea. It's nothing, that is concrete. That if you've got the money, okay, you might as well give without deducting the full year's mortgage. Okay, inshallah, because first of all, a lot of us are unlawfully taking out this thing, and then we're using it as a scheme to get rid of the zakat. Okay, inshallah. But you can, and that's with any other, student loans as well. Do you pay zakat? Can you deduct the student loan amount? Like someone might be in 30,000, 40,000. Some people, who've been studying for 5-6 years, they might be in 50,000 debt. Okay, but the amount that they have cash at the present moment is £2,000 or £3,000. So if they're taking away, for example, a person who's got a mortgage like £150,000, or if they're taking £50,000 away, they'll never pay zakat for like 25 years or whenever this debt is killed. Okay, so we're not allowed to deduct, more than a year's worth of long debts. We're not talking about short debts to people where you have to give in 1 year, 2 years. We're talking about these long debts. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, and again, we're not allowed to deduct the interest amount. So you have to look at the capital amount, and then you're allowed to put all of that together for 1 year and then deduct that amount from the full zakat amount. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, mashallah. So the non-zakatables, okay, so what things are non-zakatable? So like I mentioned before, we mentioned about cash, we mentioned about gold, we mentioned about business assets. There's certain things that are non-zakatable. So that means that we don't pay zakat on them, whether we have them in an abundance or not. So if you've got 5 cars and they're all for personal use, you've got 5 cars and they're all for personal use. You use one on Monday, another one on Tuesday, another one on Wednesday. If it's for personal use, you don't give zakah on it. Okay? When you make the intention of selling it, you give zakah on it. Have you understood? Yeah? Number 2, precious stones. Anything that isn't gold and silver, you don't pay zakat on it. Number 3, like I mentioned before, haram income. You are not allowed to pay zakat on haram income. You have to give that haram income away without intention of reward. You have to give the haram income away without intention of reward. You can't be giving and saying, I'm giving this zakat and it's haram money. You're not going to get no reward at all. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, inshallah. Now, this is the most important part, I would say. When is zakat discharged? Okay, so when is zakat discharged? And we're going to wrap up quickly, inshallah. So when is zakat discharged? When do we give our zakat? So, zakat is discharged once a year. Let me give you an example, and hopefully you'll understand this example. Whenever you hit the zakat threshold, that's when your zakat anniversary date starts. Not when you have to give zakat on that date. So for example, it's your first job, you've hit £355 or however much it was. Okay, you've hit £355. Your zakat anniversary date starts on that date. Let's say, for goodness sakes, okay, we'll say that the 1st of Ramadan. The 1st of Ramadan, you received your first wage, or it was a gift your parents gave you, like, I don't know, they gave you a gift of £500. So the day or the date that you've received this is your zakat anniversary date. Not when zakat is farz on you. This is your anniversary day. I keep on saying anniversary day because this day you have to remember for the rest of your life. You have to remember this date for the rest of your life. So whenever you hit this threshold, this is when zakat becomes, this is your anniversary day. But it doesn't become farz on you until the same day after 1 lunar year. And I say lunar year because it's not the normal year. So for example, our Gregorian years, if it's 1st of January, we say, okay, 1st of January is our zakat day. No. If you have to go off the Islamic date. Okay? So it's 1st of Ramadan or 1st of Muharram, 1443 last year. Then you look at 1st of Ramadan, 1444 this year. So 1 year has passed. So you hit the threshold, £350. Okay? You hit that threshold, that's your zakat anniversary date. Very important. If you don't know your zakat anniversary date, you need to go back to your bank statements and you have to check when you hit that date. If you don't know, then try to go as far back as possible because it's better paying more than paying less. Okay, inshallah. So once you've hit that date, okay, and then 1 year has passed, you check whatever you have the next year on that same date. So the 1st of Muharram or the 1st of Ramadan. So for example, You had £350 on 1st of Ramadan 2022. Now 1st of Ramadan 2000, now it's not first on you on 2022, you just hit the, it's just become first on you, meaning the zakat anniversary date. Yeah? Now it only becomes first on you on 1st of Ramadan 2023. That's where you put all your money together, all the cash in your bank, all the cash under your bed. Okay, you look at the zakah of your gold and everything else, you put it together and you see how much you've got on that day. So you might have £500, you might have £1,000, you might have £1,500, you might have £10,000, you might have saved every single penny of your wages, you might have like £20,000. Okay, whatever you have on that day, that's what you will pay zakah on. Obviously, making the deductions and including everything. Okay, you'll pay on that day. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, so when will you pay? 1 year after your zakah anniversary date. And this is the same every single year. So what does this mean? This means that within the year, for example, you went to a career high earning or a yearly earning of £25,000. You had £25,000, but it was 1 year hasn't passed yet. It hasn't hit 1st of Ramadan yet. We're in, just say even one month before. We're in Sha'ban. 1st of Sha'ban, you've hit £25,000. What have you gone and done? You've gone and bought a car. You've bought a car, okay, for £10,000. You've bought a car for £10,000. Now it's 1st of Ramadan. How much cash do you have remaining? £15,000. How much do you pay zakat on? £15,000. Has everyone understood this? You pay zakat on the £15,000. Is this clear with everyone? Okay. Let's turn this example around. What if someone had no money? For example, they hit the threshold. They even went below the threshold, and then they were a bit above. But the day before the 1st of Ramadan, the next year, someone came to them and said to them, here, this is £10,000 for you as a gift. SubhanAllah, if only that happens to all of us. Okay, someone comes and gives you a gift of £10,000. Now the next day is the 1st of Ramadan. Okay, you had £350 in your bank 1 day before Ramadan, and all of a sudden you've got 10,350. How much do you pay zakat on? 10,350. You don't say that, oh, but a full year hasn't gone on the £10,000 though. Like a full year, some people have some misunderstanding. They think the full year has to go on the full amount. No, it's on your zakah anniversary day. Wherever you have, you give zakah on that date. Regardless of you having it for 1 hour, 1 day, 10 days, 30 days, whatever you have on that date, okay, you pay zakah on that amount. Is that clear with everyone? Easy to understand? Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay. So the example here. So a person, he hit the anniversary day on the 10th of Muharram. He got his second wage and then he continued getting wages all the way through. He bought a car, so he lost some money. Then he was gifted £1,000. He puts it all together. I've explained all of this. And then he will pay the zakah on the amount that he has on that day, the zakah anniversary day. Your zakah anniversary day will remain the same unless you go to zero. If there's any time where you go totally zero, okay, so you've gone to zero in your bank, then the next time you hit the zakat threshold, that's when your zakat will become, your zakat anniversary date will start again. Has everyone understood this? So for example, you've hit the zakat anniversary day. There might be even youngsters as well, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. They've hit £335. All of a sudden they have to buy books for school and for their studies and whatever, and they've gone to zero, and they have to start borrowing from their parents again or asking their parents again. Okay? If that's the case, the next time they hit the £350, that's when the zakat date will start again. Then it's a year after that. Has everyone understood this? Is that clear with everyone? Okay, inshallah? Okay. Just moving on, so I've mentioned this, estimate as much as possible. We had a brother's even sitting here, Allah reward him. Okay, he found out about the rules of zakat. So what he did, he actually went back all the years, okay, and he worked out from I don't know, when he was 16, 17 years old, and he went back and looked at his bank statements, and he worked out that, look, this is how much he had on the zakat date, and then he paid for every single year. Remember, zakat is also like salah. If you miss it, you have to make up for it. Have you understood? If you miss it, you have to make up for it. So if you've got so many years of zakat, you have to work out so many years of zakat and you have to give that amount. If you don't give it all together, you can give it slowly, okay, but you have to give that amount. Is that clear with everyone? Another thing is, do you have to give it on that day, or can you give it early, or can you give it after? Okay, with zakat, there's no hard and fast rule where, like salah, where you have a limited period, you have to read your zuhr within this time, and then it becomes qaza. It's not like that with zakat. Zakat becomes farz on you. You can actually disperse of your zakat before the zakat date. So, for example, we had, the appeals taking place for Turkey and Syria. Okay, now it was before the month of Ramadan, so a lot of people's zakat day is in the month of Ramadan. You could have, and some of you probably did, given your zakat in advance. Okay, but one thing you have to work out is the amount that is owed on your zakat anniversary day, so you don't make any mistakes. So even if you've given your zakat from before, okay, you still have to work out what you have on the 1st of Ramadan. So if you've given more, then alhamdulillah. If you've given less, you have to make up the amount that you need to owe. Is that okay with everyone? But one thing I may stress upon, when something becomes farz on you, you should give it straight away. You should give it straight away. Like someone's zakat anniversary day might be 1st of Muharram, but they think, I'll get more reward in Ramazan, so I'll wait for Ramazan and give it. That's fine, inshallah. Okay, you will get more reward, but what if you pass away before that? That's why it's very important, if like a zakat day is before the month of Ramadan, that you write it down and you tell people that if I pass away, make sure you give this zakat of mine. So you make a bequest, and these wills and things like that are very important. Why? Because if you don't, this wealth becomes the wealth of someone else. Now it's up to them whether they want to give it or not. If they say, I don't want to give it, they don't have to give it. Is that clear with everyone? Okay, inshallah. Okay, so I've mentioned that zakat should be distributed as soon as possible. Okay, it's discouraged to delay the next PowerPoint. However, one may pay in installments for valid reasons. He should leave a bequest. I've mentioned that. Zakat can be paid in advance. However, a calculation must be made on the anniversary day, and any differences should be settled. Anyway, let's quickly finish off, inshallah. Who are the recipients of zakat? Who can we give zakat to? One thing which is very important is that tamleek has to take place. Okay, tamleek has to take place. What that means is transferring of ownership. You have to make sure that someone is owning the amount, okay, and has it in their grasp, the amount that you're giving to them as zakah. Okay, is very important. And inshallah, I think it's mentioned. Okay, so we have to make sure that we give it to the poor and the needy, but they have to be owners of this amount of zakat. Okay, so now how can I give you an example? A masjid you can't give zakat to. Even a madrasa you cannot give zakat to. And I'll tell you what they do in madrasas who come from back home and they say you can give your zakat. Okay, you can't give zakat towards building this masjid or any services. Zakat is only valid when you give it to someone and they become owners of that amount. So that's why it can be given to the poor and the needy. Okay, you can't even say to the poor and needy that, okay, I'll build this for you or I'll do this for you. No, you have to give it to their hands, and if they decide to give it you back to build something for them, then the zakat is valid. But if you just build it for them, okay, then you haven't made them owners of the zakat. You've just done it for them. So even orphanages and things like that, you're not allowed to pay your zakat towards that. Is that clear with everyone? So tamleek has to take place. You don't have to tell them. You have to make intention. One thing is important. You have to make intention. You don't have to tell the recipients of zakat that you're giving them zakat. As long as you know that these people are people who can take zakat, you give them the zakat. But they have to become owners of it. Now what they do with that money, if they give it back to you and say, build this for me, or if they, like in madrasas, what they do back home, the people who come and raise money for madrasas back home. So what they do, they give the money to all the students. And what the students do is they pay for their fees or they give back to the madrasa, and that's how the zakat is valid. But if this doesn't take place, okay, the zakat is not valid. So our zakat is not valid. So we have to make sure whenever we give our zakat, we give it to reputable charities. Alhamdulillah, there's many out there now. Okay, but we give it to reputable charities, and if we can go back home, if we've got trustworthy family members back home, then we give them the zakat to disperse, because they're giving it first hand to the people who deserve zakat. Who are we supposed to give it to? Those people who are poor and needy, those people in debt. Remember, a person can be or can take zakat if he's in debt. If he doesn't have the amount of paying zakat, then he can receive zakat as long as he doesn't have any extra possessions in terms of his basic necessities. Or if this person's got 5 cars, but he doesn't have enough money and he's in debt, like you're not going to give zakat to that person. Have you understood? But if he's in genuine debt, okay, then you can give zakat to a person in debt. Who should you be giving zakat to? Who should we give preference to? We should give preference to our own poor relatives. Okay? We should give preference to them. Doesn't mean that we don't give zakat to anyone else. We should give zakat to other people as well. But if we've got poor relatives, okay, it's more rewarding that we give it to them. Obviously, we keep the family bond strong. Okay? So there's a benefit in that, and also it's been advised by our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The people that we cannot give zakat to, the non-recipients, are the wealthy people. Obviously, the next slide. The wealthy people, we can't give it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's family, the Hashimi family. Okay, so we can't give zakat to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's family. We can't give zakat to our own wives. Okay, we can't give zakat to your wife can't give zakat to you. Okay, you can't give zakat to your own children, and you can't give it to your grandchildren, and in the same way you can't give it to your parents, and you can't give it to your grandparents. Okay, you can't give zakat towards welfare projects, and I've mentioned this as well. So for example, you've got hospitals, general people are giving just, I don't know, they're just helping, they might be making a well. It's not for anyone specific. Okay, they're making a well, they're building a hospital, madrasas. Okay, you just thought you'll give some charity to prisoners. Okay, if they're not, if they're not people who should take zakat, then we're not allowed to give zakat to them. Okay, inshallah. So we've come to the end of our presentation. We've got a few case studies. I've actually put the examples there already. So let's not put it up on the screen. I'll just ask you quickly. Okay, if any of you have got your phones, you can work out the amount if you're not good at maths. Okay, but whoever gets the correct answer, a kujur on my behalf for them at the time of iftar. Okay, inshallah. But they have to have one of their own kujurs and remember me. Okay, inshallah. So for example, you've got a 15-year-old. You've got a 15-year-old who has 500 pound in his bank. Okay, 15-year-old. I've made it a bit easy. Okay, you've got a 10-year-old who has 500 pound in his bank. Okay. 1 year has passed on the 500 pound. Okay, how much zakat does he have to give on 500 pound? So a 10-year-old. Nothing. MashaAllah, excellent. Okay, so he will give nothing. Okay, because he's not baligh. It's his money, but he's not reached the age of puberty, so he'll give no money. You've got a 15-year-old now, 15-year-old who is baligh. Okay, he has 500 pound. How much zakat will he give? Oh, you've got it on the notes, yeah? Okay, let's change the amount. 1,000 pound. 25 pound, okay? So 2.5% of 1,000 pound is 25 pound. Okay, inshallah. You've got a sister. I'm making the amount up now, so it's not on your worksheets, okay? So a sister has 10,000 pound worth of gold, 5,000 pound worth of money, and 10,000 pound worth of gold, 5,000 pound worth of money, but she owes her own sister 2,000 pound. How much will she pay zakat on? I'm not saying the amount of zakat. How much will she pay zakat on? What's the figure? 13,000, mashallah. And then, what is the zakat amount on 13,000? 2.5%. Okay, is anyone good at maths? Mubin? What is it? Excellent, 325. Okay, we've got a walking, talking calculator. MashaAllah. Okay, MashaAllah. So, yeah, that's just 2 examples. We've got another example on your worksheets. Hopefully, inshallah, we've covered the main aspects of zakat. Hopefully, we've got more of an idea of, the knowledge of zakat, and we're able to give zakat according to the Quran and Sunnah. If there's any questions, or if you have any problems, you can approach us. You can approach Maulana Saif, the Imams, Maulana Abdul Munim, Mufti Mahfuz, and all the scholars in the area for advice. But the main thing is that it's a hukm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should be privileged that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us the opportunity to give zakat. There's so many poor people out there who'd love to be in our position where we can give zakat. We should give it open-heartedly, we should give extra, okay, we should even give sadaqah in general, okay, and inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised that He will purify our wealth and He will increase our wealth. Whether we see it in this world or not, we will see it in this world, okay, we've got belief in that, but if we don't see it in this world, we'll definitely see it in the hereafter. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين جزاك الله خيرا أحسن الجزاء السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته